Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel Off The Underside. The woman in front of me needs no introduction, but I'm going to give her one anyway. She is a broadcaster, presenter, podcaster. She's a, she's does everything basically. She's a jack of all trades, as they say. So
Make good tea, get the washings done.
that's it, exactly. That's it. It's Miss Shebahn Aherne. How you doing, pal?
Hi, Jamie. I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Hi, I'm very, very good. Thanks for coming on. It really is a pleasure to talk to you. I'm a big fan of talkSPORT, a big fan of yourself, and it seems so surreal. Like half an hour ago, I'm sitting watching you sitting with Alan Brazil and Gabby Bonlahor. Now you're sitting talking to me, so I really, really appreciate it, pal. Thank you.
You probably get a lot more going on than Alan Brazil and Gabby Agbonlahor. I probably wouldn't say that to their faces, mind you. They're up for the crack with this. This will be nice to chat today, Jamie. How's the world of podcasting going? How are you finding it?
I'm really enjoying it. I mean, like I say, it's really surreal to talk to people like yourself. Last night, I was sitting talking to Murdo McLeod for an hour, so
Oh, well, okay.
so it's like Celtic legends and broadcasting legends like yourself and that. So I am, even if I was to get one follower, I'm just happy that I'm doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's it. You've got to enjoy it. And if you're passionate about it, you'll hustle and you'll get your guests and, keep going. Keep going. I see it's doing well.
I didn't think for a single second that I could get people like yourself. Do you know what I mean? I thought "Look, they're too busy. There's no way they're going to come on my podcast or whatever. But I've been really, really surprised at how kind and generous people have been. So,
That's how it
I'm really
works.
enjoying it.
I mean, I've asked so many people to help me with mine kind of thing, and people say yeah, and you're surprised and you get them. So it's right that we do it the other way, kind of thing. Everyone helps each other out. It's hard to do. It's hard to do everything, but yeah, you popped up, and I was like, okay, yeah, we'll stick with Jamie. We'll make sure we do Jamie.
Brilliant. Really appreciate that, honestly. Um, we will get into your career in a wee second, pal. But since it's so fresh in the memory and that, and we're both big Celtic fans, let's talk a wee bit about the other night, if you don't mind.
Mm.
Obviously, Celtic really, really poor in both legs, in my opinion. Uh, we end up, Dies Almeida goes through, a couple of minutes to go, and I was thinking, is this going to be a carbon copy of the cup final here? He
Yeah.
misses a great chance through on goal, goes to penalties, and we lose in penalties. What was your thoughts on how it all occurred?
So poor. It's amazing how quickly it changes, kind of thing, and the fact that Kyra Almaty are ranked where they're ranked, and we managed to not even to score, and they didn't score either, and we still lose that game over two legs. A game of such magnitudes is so disappointing. Um, I think that the team could have done better over both legs. And then, I'm speaking to many former professionals about it who say it's not good enough. And then, it's one of those games. It's so early in the season. There's so much pressure, yet it's so early in the season, and they're not quite there yet. They're not quite at it. They're not playing their best. But what a lesson, to get our backsides handed to us like that by a team that are ranked where they're ranked 314th in UEFA rankings. Where we I class Celtic as the one of if not the biggest club supported in the world. If not one of them. It's like, how did we manage to let that happen? So, still disappointed. And then I think you got to look ahead and go, okay, maybe it's meant to be for Europa League, but then also look at that performance against Cara, and I'm like, who do we challenge in the Europa League? I don't think we could lay a glove on anyone with a performance like that.
Definitely. I mean, obviously a lot's been spoken about the board and that. James Forrest, for me, as much as he's a Celtic legend, we all love him in that, but he should never be playing in that game. You've got Yang, who was playing out of position, and he looked as if he'd never kicked a ball before in his life. You've got Adam Ida and that. It's just the board haven't invested in that. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think they should have brought players in sooner?
Yes, we were waiting to see if we got past this stage. Well, reportedly, that was the rumor, wasn't it? That see if they get Champions League football before investing. Yet we've got the money from Champions League last season and the progression that we saw there. So we're just sitting there cash rich. We've not spent any of it. And now we've not got Champions League football. I think that Brendan has not been backed. The players that we're going to have to be without, even with Jota's injury, Kuhn leaving, Kyogo leaving. These players haven't been replaced. There are creative players, and I just think it's so disappointing that they haven't been backed. Now, That said, do I think we would stand a better chance in Europa League with some investment now? I go, okay, maybe we could work towards that because, it's an amazing competition. So I think to be part of that would be great. I'm trying not to focus negatively on it because we all know it stinks. It was awful. But the board should have backed them sooner. They should, yeah, and they'll know that. What's the point in sitting on the money? The money that came from the progress that we saw in the Champions League last season. Don't expect to progress if you're not going to dig in that little bit more. You can't get there and just sit on your laurels. And I think we've done that.
Totally agree. I mean, you look at the Europa League as you're saying that, but they didn't need to wait for the Champions League. We already made loads of money in the Champions League last season, as you say. We sold Kyogo. The Kunis just went and that. So there's money in the bank. It's just it
Of
seems so
course.
ridiculous they've waited, man.
So was it something like 60 million? Maybe, Jamie, I don't know if that's the right 58 or 60 million, I think was the number going around that had come in from last season. Money that's just been sat on. The board are just sitting on that money, all cash rich.
You know,
It's a shame, it's disappointing for the fans, it's disappointing from the team. And you look at that game, what feels like yesterday against Bayern Munich to that performance against Kairat Almaty, and it's off a cliff.
100%.
Mm.
100%. I think that the biggest thing is like the wingers. We had Kuhn, we had Jota that night. Creativity, balls getting into the box and that. Like I
Mm.
said the other night, we had Yang playing out of position, and we had James Forrest, who's should just be a bit part player at his age now. So it's a shame, but hopefully we will. We've got
Mm.
boy coming in from Royal Antwerp, and
Yes.
we've got a left back coming in this week. So hopefully he'll make a bit of difference.
Hopefully. I mean, when is the draw? The draw is tonight, right? Thursday?
I
Is that
believe it is. Aye, I'm sure it is. Aye.
we should know more, but I mean the progress that you're seeing from teams, the investment, the money that goes in, you have to stay on that level kind of thing, and they haven't, until now. So to not do it before the biggest night of the season so far, to have that squad and to have those other players in, it's the board's fault.
Definitely. And then obviously we've got a big game on Sunday. Which I'm sure you've been to many a times. What's your thoughts on that? Rangers had a ridiculous result last night, man.
Do you know what I hate, Jamie? That like here at talkSPORT and just like friends or whatever, it's like Scotland has been laughed at, Scottish football, and the thing is, sometimes they don't care about you. Don't care about you when it's going well. Nobody mentions it when it's going well. When things are bad, it is the spotlight is on, and it's a tragic old week for Scottish football. The last 48 hours, Celtic losing to Kairat in a game that they should have won in the first leg, and then Rangers in the Champions League, third worst ever defeat in its history. 9-1 an aggregate, 6-0 last night. I mean, is awful. And then I look at the two teams. It's Celtic could have done better. They didn't look at it. I think the Carrat players were more passionate and wanted to win it for some reason. Well, they were making history for themselves, so you could see why they were really incensed. But Rangers, I look and go, what's going on there? Like, I think Celtic will always still play for the fans. They'll always still pay for the shirt, but there's something about the character and that dressing room at Rangers at the moment. Players saying I'm not playing and whatever like that, and just the way they've stopped running, they stopped tracking back. We saw it in the first leg against Brugge as well. That for me, I'm like, holy shit, like what is happening, kind of thing. There's calls for Russell Martin's head. I don't know if we get to the weekend and then they make a decision on that, but that's bad. I'm hearing all the response this morning from the Rangers fans, and Jamie, I genuinely do have sympathy because in Glasgow, your job is to not be second, and they're already how many points behind going into an Old Firm after a shocker like that in the Champions League with players who don't want to play, characters being questioned, manager who came from a terrible run in Southampton. I don't think he should have got the job anyway.
Yep.
All of it. It's a shambles. Looking at Aberdeen and Hibs for some light here, Jamie. What's happened?
That's pretty bad times you're looking at to for a bit of hope in it, man. But see, you're talking about Russell Martin and that there though, like, you know, as you say, I don't think he should have got the job, but I don't know if you seen his interview after the game last night, and
Mhm.
he get asked, are you under any kind of, are you worried about your job or anything? He's like, nah. He's like,
Yeah.
I've spoke to the two people above, it's looking, I've been backed in that. So that's the thing. It's like, see, when he signed a 3-year contract, for me, that was we're sticking with this guy no matter what. So I think it's, even if they get beat heavily on Sunday, I think they might actually stick with him, because the thing is, Shebahn, when you were talking there, I was thinking about what you were saying this morning on talkSPORT. You were talking about Amaron at Man United. And
Mhm.
to me, it's a kind of very similar
Mm.
situation at the moment. The two of them are having really, really bad results. Amaron and Martin are both coming out and criticising their players, criticising the culture of the club and that. And I don't hear anything from them as in, you know what, this is that I need to take responsibility here. Because see, if your players aren't playing for you, that's
Mhm.
your, how are you not getting them up for it?
I mean, that's what I
You know
look
what I mean?
at. You've got a team in front of you. So, what are you not giving that team? What can you look at yourself? I mean, the way Amarin sets that side up, I mean, a back five against Grimsby, that's
Mhm.
him. That's on him. You see him, and I think what is now going to circulate is embarrassing scenes for Amarin. I love him. I really, really do. I want him to work at Man United. Um, I have, you know, I look at that and I'm like, why are you sitting there with your tactics board against Grimsby in the piss and rain, 70 minutes gone, wondering how you're going to set this up?
I know.
Like that's telling of you, kind of thing.
Exactly. No.
So yeah, you're right. I think Russell Martin and Amarin are incredibly similar situations, and they have to get it right. And you can't keep hiring and firing. The only thing is with Amarin, I think that he kind of has got half of the fan base on board. You know,
Mhm.
Um, he does. He's been mocked, I think, by other fan bases at the minute, but I do think people want him to work out. A lot of people want him to work out. I like his attitude. If you've got an attitude, you don't deserve to be at Manchester United. I like that approach. Russell Martin's doing the same thing at Rangers. It's
Yeah.
just very, very different circumstances and different pressure cookers. United aren't expected to win the league every season. Rangers have one job to do, and that's not let Celtic win the league. So who's under more pressure? It's a I couldn't tell you what he's going through. Russell Martin this morning when you wake up back home in Glasgow, knowing that it feels like the fan base want him out. I mean, I'm not seeing anybody online, anybody call talkSPORT to say, can give this guy time. I don't know if it's the way he speaks. I don't know if it's even his hair's getting a mention. I think he's got a brilliant head of hair, Jamie. But
I wouldn't mind
just,
about it myself, you know what I mean?
yeah, he's bugging people. But I think if you get relegated with Southampton, he never changed the system. They were conceding 5 goals willy-nilly in the Premier League. Don't take him to Rangers and expect you to win the league.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And I think for me, see, as soon as he came out, but after the Motherwell game, and just
Yeah.
started saying, there's something, he didn't actually mention them by name, but we all know he was talking about Tavernier, Raskin, Diamandi, all these guys. To me, they're best players, and dropping his captain, he's dropping his best player for last season and that. So aye, it's crazy. But see, when you're talking there a wee bit, it must be really difficult for you, Shebahn, obviously being down there at TalkSport. And like I say, I'm a big fan of yourself, big fan of all the presenters and that. But as you say, there is quite we are a wee bit of a laughing stock of Scottish football. You've got Cundy at night and all that. Cundy and Ahara having a wee laugh about you know how they going. But the thing is, I was thinking about is you get it twice though, because to me, the way people treat Scottish football, right, in England and that is very, very similar how people treat women's football.
Mm,
As in, there's like an arrogance to it, like we're better and this and that. And I'm not going to lie to you, Shebahn, to your face. At the start, I was like, women's football to me, the standard was really, really poor when I first watched it, right? It was. But then I've watched a wee bit of the Euros there, and I've been watching wee bits and bobs over the last year or two, and I've been really, really impressed. There
mhm,
definitely is an improvement there, right? But the thing is, which must really annoy you, is when people say things like, "Oh, women's football," you're no claiming, right? I really don't think that you are anyway, that women's football is as good as men's yet, right?
no, no.
Right. But what you're trying to say is, no, there is a level there. They're trying to improve it. It is entertaining at times. There is loads of good players. But you're not saying that they're going to, the best women's team's going to go and beat the best men's team. But there seems to be an arrogance in people that think, oh, women's football. I mean, I really do feel sorry for you at times.
The thing is, I think I'm at that point now where it's like I've always watched women's football. Back in Glasgow from a young age, my sister playing with the boys kind of thing. It was fine. She was accepted to play with boys in the schools team. It was always okay. Um, and you see one individual who can get on fine with that team and win and be, I think, the top goal scorer every season kind of thing, and then join women's teams. For me, I've always had that passion and always had that interest, probably because my twin sister was that person. So you love that person, you support that person, you support where they go, and you want the best for them. When people don't watch it and they maybe have seen one highlight on TikTok or social media of an absolute howler in women's football and then decide the standard is terrible and nobody cares and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, you kind of got to leave them to it now. I think years ago I would have always tried to like fight the corner. Now you don't need to. If you want it, it's there. If you want to subscribe to it, go get it. And if you don't, that's okay. Whereas for a long time, I can put my hand on my heart and say I was trying to convince everybody otherwise, kind of thing. And I didn't have to do that. Probably got that wrong. Probably got over emotional about it because I was emotional because I hate when we have the platform that we have and it's just to smash people to bits and bring down what is a minority. Women's football is still a minority, and why people who watch or like football then feel the need to point out the problems of women's football. I don't know what you get from that kind of thing. It's not assessed day in, day out like men's football. So don't then use it as a stick to beat it with when you have one incident or one highlight to say that's why that was so poor, and that's the one thing you can pull out your arse every month to focus on women's football. If you're not going to focus it every day, I don't think you have the right then to sit and smash it to bits from one clip, or one highlight or one howler. But again, people do what they've got to do. I think the Lionesses have been so good. And you see it down here. I still look at my sister now. I think she's 35. She still plays professional football. And I hope that Scotland is getting there with that. I'm doing Celtic Player of the Year awards. Last couple of years, they're really backing that team and really pushing the women's team. I love that. I'm a Celtic fan. I'm a woman. I want them to have that opportunity. Whether the standard is there yet or not. We're 50 years behind. There was a goddamn fucking ban. Excuse my language, Jamie.
All right.
We're always going to be catching up. The difference is them having that opportunity, and that's the main thing now. And the standard will get there. We are seeing it. We are seeing the standard changing, and whatever you can say, I'd rather watch what happened in the penalty shootout with England Sweden and be entertained than watch the bottom of the Premier League battle out a 1-1 draw.
I know.
I'd rather be entertained by that, but that's me. And if you'd rather that's fine as well. But yeah, like the sexism and the misogyny that comes into it. I think now I'm starting to go, I can handle that now. I think I've heard it all, and it's fine. It's okay if you back yourself enough to sit on the radio every day and have your opinion. You need to be able to take other opinions back. Only thing is that I think I would never sit and call people names or bring their gender or whatever into or slate people quite like that. I'd try and have it a bit more above board, Jamie.
No, that's it. I mean, like I had a wee look through your ex account and that, and I don't know. Do you only reply to the trolls? Is that you just kind of you love to reply to them?
I just don't really get nice comments.
I'm sure you do, man.
Oh, cause just I don't know. I mean, you really shouldn't reply. Sometimes I'm in the mood for it. Sometimes I'm not. And then I think I don't know people. I actually don't personally know people who pick up their phone or their computer to tweet people like what they think about them or their like hate towards them. I just don't know people who actually do that.
hmm
Who are
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, I don't want to slag your wee pal here, right? I know he is your pal, right?
who?
But there's one guy on talkSPORT that I think he does it for clicks and that, and that's Rory Jennings, right? You know,
Okay.
right. For me, obviously, the whole Haaland thing that he done, mind, a few years ago,
Yep.
which was obviously silly. Then it was really the Big Ange thing, you know. There was an arrogance for Rory because Big Ange just came from Japan, Scotland, and that, and he was like, he's going to feel Scotland. And then he done a big video about it at the end when Ange won the, Europa League, apologising and that. But Rory does things for clicks, there's no doubt about it. But I would never sit and think I'm going to go and tweet him or I'm going to go and message him or however. At the end of the day, he's putting himself out there. It might be his opinion. I don't know if he does it for clicks or not, but he does things, out there and that, like yourself, you've gives your opinion and that. But I don't understand why it would go through somebody's head to go, you know what? I'm so angry, I'm going to go message that person. I'm going to go tweet that person.
Yeah, to be fair, like Rory's he's a good friend of mine, and like you say, he's one of my pals. What Rory does for work works really well because here we are talking about it. The Haaland thing. I remember when he said it. The reason it went so viral is because he was so miles off it, whether he believed that or not. But how many times do we speak about a player arriving in the Premier League and maybe it not quite cutting it? What he said about Haaland, I'm pretty sure he's already said about Gyökeres going to Arsenal. His numbers were the same as Haaland's, not okay in a different league, but I did look and go when Haaland happened and he arrived in the Premier League and was just cooking. It was so easy then for Rory to be that clip, just go everywhere and him to be laughed at. And already at those moments, he was making waves for his bold opinion kind of thing. It's his job. People do their jobs. Rory might think I'm absolutely dog shit on the radio, but at the end of the day, he's a good person. He's a really good person. I've seen him, Jamie. This will surprise you. I have seen been at events where Wayne Rooney has come up to him like, Rory, mate, how's it going? I've seen Frank Lampard go over to Rory and want to speak to Rory. So football people seem to kind of like his opinions. Proven football people, legends here. It can be to people on social media a laughing stock, but it also kind of generates opinions and gets people talking. Albeit the Haaland one, he was miles off it. He was miles off it, but otherwise, I think his points are good. And at the end of the day, he's a good guy. And when I get trolled, he's the first one on the phone, like, "You okay?" Like, it's hard, and it's hard. Like he takes it like a champ, but I think he sees that. I think he'll look and go, okay, it quite often can be a group of men ganging up on a woman, and he doesn't like that kind of thing. So he's always got your back, and he's always got people talking. I mean, the amount of people who are like, "Do you know that Rory Jennings?" I'm like, I actually do.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't dislike the guy. Do you know what I mean? I've got nothing personally against him. It's
Oh, of
just
course. I mean,
some
this is his job. He's not
exactly.
there to be liked by everyone.
And then he done one the other day, and it was name now the day the name the best until it stops sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he was doing that, and it was like Everton or Celtic, and he's like, oh, Everton. I'm like, ah,
Well,
that's not even debatable, man.
he is of the Rangers persuasion.
No, but he said the Rangers came up after it. He said Everton.
Oh, okay, fine. Right, okay, he's done himself there. But I also saw one of his winner stays on most famous people in the world, and he had like Piers Morgan above Beckham and all that. I was like,
I
what's
know, I've
going
seen that. I know Piers Morgan, but it's the way he does it though. It's the Piers Morgan, Piers
on?
Morgan. Like, oh my god, he's at it. But
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
your
yeah.
pal anyway. I'm not going to go too much
I'll
more into
send
it.
him
But
your love too. I'll send him your love.
no, listen. More than happy to ever speak to Rory. I'll tell him to his face. I'll tell him to his face. But aye, Shebahn, let's talk a wee bit about yourself and your career, pal. Obviously, you grew up in the best city in the world, in my opinion,
Yep.
Glasgow. What's your early memories? Did you always want to be a broadcaster? I know you were on Clyde One. I remember you for Clyde One years ago. You were on with George Bowie in the morning, weren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Aye.
Bowie breakfast.
Aye, you
Those
were
were
on
the
with Bowie at breakfast all the time. Remember that? Was it always your ambition to get into broadcasting, get into radio and that? Um, just like, in fact, that's the question. Was it always
Yeah,
your
it
ambition?
always was. Always. I'd say to my mum and dad when I was young that I think I'd like to read the news. Don't know why. And the older I got, I'm a terrible reader, a really bad reader. Honestly, my kids are 6; they read better than me some days, Jamie. And the older I got, the more I realised that maybe I wasn't naturally as good at reading reading the news, because I really struggle reading, a bit of dyslexia there. And then one day, my mum worked in, I don't know if you'd remember McCormick's music store in town. It's closed now, but my
Uh-huh.
mum worked in that shop for years, and one of the clients was Clyde One, or they were a client of Clyde. And the sales rep was in that day, and my mum said to me, "She's back in next week. Write your work experience letter, and I'll give it to the sales rep from Clyde." So I did my letter. I think it was littered again with spelling errors, because they read it to me like when I was in Clyde doing my work experience. And they got it through to the production guy, Duncan, who was the production manager. And then I just kept phoning, and there was never anybody there to take my call. It was never going to happen. And one day I think they answered the phone by accident. And it was Duncan, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've heard about you. Your letter's come through. Okay, I can give you a week in the summer." And I got my work experience week, and I was 15, and I never ever wanted to leave. I just went in there, and Gavin Pearson, Gav, who's still
Aye.
on, still a very good friend. He was doing midday at the time, mid morning show at the time, and it was my second day of work experience, and I was in the studio with him, and he said, "Coming out of this break, I need you to press this button for me, and that'll like start the 102.5 Clyde One, and you'll hit the song after that." And when he let me kind of press those buttons, and I knew it was like going out on air, I got such a buzz, and I was like, "This is what I want to do." I wanted to be just do his job kind of thing. I just wanted to sit and play music and talk on the radio. So Clyde were very, very good to me in reflection. I was so young, and they gave me a show there when I was 20, doing night times on a Saturday. And I went down to West Sound in Ayrshire, and I did a lot with them. And they really kind of just brought me on and gave me experience and worked with me and told you weren't good enough and you need to work in this. And in reflection, I look back, and I was properly young, young and working with George. And it was such a giggle, every morning we had such a giggle, and I was doing the travel for years, and the travel, then they kind of incorporated you to the show. And then Robin Galloway, Galsy, I call him, he came to drive, and I did bits with him as well. And it was just the best times. And I knew I always wanted to work in radio. Fast forward, I met my now husband, and he lived in London, and I always thought one day I'd love to move to London. And I thought, right, feck it, I'll hand him a notice and, take the leap of faith kind of thing, and hopefully get something down in London. And I didn't. Like, I thought, you think you work in the big breakfast show up in Scotland, like you'll get an opportunity at a radio station, and I just couldn't, applied for loads of jobs and couldn't get in the door. But it was Lorraine Kelly who brought me in to ITV. I'd sent her an email again, thanks to Duncan at Clyde. I think she owed him a favour or something like that, and she said, "Come in and watch my show, and we'll have a cuppa." And then she said, "There's a job coming up in the green room. It's just been listed. Why don't you apply?" So I went to be like a runner in the green room at Good Morning Britain for ITV. And then I kind of went through the TV route then. So into the newsroom, news researcher, then showbiz desk, showbiz producer, a bit of reporting, and then sport and news. And then went to talkSPORT. Then when the kids were born, and my sister and her partner lived with us in COVID, and I started a podcast with them on women's football. Sky were getting the rights to the women's WSL. And I thought, well, I've got two WSL players here under my roof. I could start this podcast with them. And then that's where I just started badgering talkSPORT, and they kind of welcomed me in with open arms. And now here we are. That was a long podcast. Sorry, I've just like taken up about 45 minutes of your time.
No, no. I mean, that is an incredible story because I remember when you left Clyde one, but I genuinely thought you'd got a job down there and you were just away to, because I was very surprised when you left, and I was like, well, she must have got a job down there. I'd read that you'd went to London and that, but no, I didn't know that you didn't have anything. And then obviously, but
Yeah.
it's incredible how, like, you're saying your mum and that. I mean, see the amount of people I talk to on this podcast, and it's like fate, you know.
Mm.
See if you
Yeah.
had like just if you'd have just stopped phoning, or
Yeah.
where would you be now? You know what I mean? You could have, it might not have worked out for you. You could be somewhere else, or and
Yeah.
it's just, well, obviously your talent would have got you somewhere, you know what I mean? But like, it's just
Thanks.
incredible how these things, you know what I mean?
I honestly, I love it. And I do a bit of TV, and TV is so different. But see, radio, just sitting, chatting about sport that's just ever changing and ever moving and ever drama. You know, it is. I am so lucky. I've no doubt I'm robbing a living, no doubt about it. You know, and every day I come into talkSPORT and I go, how did I get to be here? You know, I'm really grateful for that, and everyone's brilliant, and the team are great, and the listeners are brilliant, and the interaction you get with people is amazing. And everywhere you go, people listen to talkSPORT. You know, and we have these conversations about women's football, and everyone's got an opinion. And honestly, I love radio. I love it so so much. I never ever thought when I was a wee girl I would fall in love with radio, but clearly when I've got to push those buttons, that was it. That was the start of it, and every day want to do this, so it's great.
Obviously, Clyde One and that and other kind of radio stations, a wee bit different because you do have quite a lot of women and stuff. But how did it feel going to talk sport? Obviously, that industry, as we spoke about on, X and that, there can be sexism, and even now there's sexism and that. But fair play to you for getting into that environment. It's mostly guys on talk sport and that. So how do you deal with that then? Are you still really enjoying it and whatever, or is there kind of times where you're like,
No,
this is
everyone's
torture?
great. I mean, they're really talkSPORT care about diversity kind of thing, and probably because diversity became such a prominent thing, that's why I do have an opportunity here. You know, I have no doubt that there's probably a million men who could do what I do, kind of thing. But at the moment, where it's it's right to be diverse. You know, why should it just be mostly men, kind of thing? That you know, I know I've got the opportunity now because times have changed. You know, um, that's important to me. You know, that's why I care about diversity. That's why I care about giving the voice that maybe people who don't normally have it. You know, maybe that sounds like an ego or something. I don't know. There's something there where I think it's right to kind of represent. You know, I care about that now. I maybe never used to think about it when I was young, but now you're in an environment where one mention of women's football, and it's like you've ended the world. You're the worst person ever, kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, that's on you then. That's not on me. You know, if it's the women's Euros and we're talking about women's football, and listeners have a problem with that, the problem is with them. I can't do anything about that. In the office, everyone's magic, and the management team, everyone looks out for you. They can see it, you know, they're not daft. They see that I get heat on social media, and they protect you, kind of thing. And the good thing is that you are protected by that. You know, it'd be different if you were on your own. It'd be different if I were going home every day alone and reading social media. But I go home and I focus on my family and I try and focus on the good things. And you've just highlighted earlier on replying to the negative tweets. Need to stop doing that. You get nowhere from it. Just pie it. You know, you can't please everyone. I think there's a bit of accepting that as well. You can't make everyone happy, but I have a job here. I'm grateful to have it. I work my arse off, and you know, sexism will maybe always be part of it, but one day I think it'll die out, and that's good.
I don't reply to them. That's what they're wanting. They're wanting a bit of energy and that. But
Yeah.
you know, you need to remember though, and I'm sure you're well aware of this. You're not just there because you're a woman though. You are absolutely really, really, really good at your job. The banter and the patter and your knowledge that you've got, especially. I mean, I love Jeff Stelling, right? He's class. But for me, see the Thursday Fridays when it's you, Alan, and Ali. You know what I mean? That I wake up in the morning, it gets me ready for work.
Yeah,
Class
yeah,
Friday morning, ready for the weekend. You know what I mean? It's as if I'm listening to Clyde One in the morning. Do you ever think about that? Actually, do you know what I mean? There's the three U's and he's broad Scottish accent and all that, and I'm like,
yeah.
I was thinking to myself, it's like must be like 70 or 80% English listening to this.
Yeah, I mean, some people say it's Scott Sport or Jock FM or whatever, and that does make me laugh. And I go,
Jockey, I say.
nobody cares when it's three English voices. Like, why should we
Nah.
care when it's three Scottish voices? But I like Ali McCoist for me growing up. I was a paper girl when I was young, right? And Ali was like back page, front page, middle page, like for all the wrong reasons in our house. You know, Ali was not liked in our house, but you know, he's Ali McCoist, and he's so nice, Jamie. Like
No, no.
he
Good
is the
tell,
nice,
man.
you know, and it's a treat getting to work with him. Alan Brazil, when I first came down to London, so we're going back like 13 years ago. I went out. Do you know Lorraine Herbison? You all heard of the name Lorraine
Yes,
Herbison?
yes,
Reads
yes.
news and Scotland. Came to meet Lorraine one day in London, and we ended up in a sports bar in London Bridge, and Brazil was there. And I was like, "Oh," like, and obviously, I didn't listen to talkSPORT when I was up working at Clyde, kinda thing, hand on my heart, I didn't listen, kinda thing. I listened to the Super Scoreboard phone-in, people, um,
Mhm.
and Brazil was there, and we ended up having the afternoon with Alan, and I look across the desk, and I'm like, "How do I work with you now?" And we had the crack that day, we had a really good laugh, and just got on so well, and now I fast forward all these years, and you get to work with a broadcast legend like that. Alan, has been doing this for 27 years. 27 years getting up at that time in the morning, 5 days a week. All right, yes, he's missed a few. Um, and he's down to 3 days a week now. And he's in his 60s. I take my hat off to him. And for somebody who's so loved, he's so loved by our listeners. So he's one of the sole reasons talkSPORT is talkSPORT. So yeah, Al's good crack, and we can have a laugh, and we can have our differences, and we crack on. He's an endearing guy. He looks out for me, and that for me means everything. So it's really good. I feel supported by the people I'm around.
Aye. That's a dream, man. Having a debrief with Al, man, that must be class. That must be utter class. I have seen you having a couple
Handle
of
it these
arguments.
days. He
Eh?
chucks it. He can't handle it these
Nah,
days.
it's a couple of beers in it. It's all for the
Mm,
Instagram and that, and he does that.
exactly. He's standing there with a parlour thinking he's big
Yeah.
time. He's in his bed for early doors.
I want to talk to you. There's a million things I want to talk to you, but obviously we can only talk about so much. But you have interviewed some absolute unbelievable people, Shebahn. I've seen you interview David Beckham, and then
Yeah.
the one I want to talk about is the. I'm a bit of a wrestling fan, right? Maybe not so much anymore, but I used to be like a massive wrestling fan.
Mm.
But you interviewed John Cena and you spoke about Celtic, man. That was amazing.
Yeah, Cena was a fun one. I mean, it was on one of these kind of screens that we're on just now, and when it goes through a film company, it is so strict. Like, he is in that chair, one link up. You've got 4 minutes. You've got a countdown. 1 minute to go, right? And then if you're over that minute, they cut you off, kind of thing. Um, we spoke about the movie. What was the movie now? Can't really remember. And I watched the movie, spoke briefly about the movie, and then I was like, right, well, what do people want to know? I was like, use like your football head here to try and get his team. Um, so yeah, he liked Celtic because of Boston Celtics and stuff like that. But he seemed
Yeah.
like a lovely guy. And actually, from the brief chat that I had with him, it was something like 4 minutes. I thought, oh, he's lovely. He's a really cool guy. And I've listened to him in loads of podcasts, and he was great. And Bex was like, that was bizarre. That's a
That was
bizarre.
like an awards thing or something, was it?
That was actually, he had released the I don't know if you've seen it. It's brilliant, Amazon Prime. So I'm born and raised Celtic, married into Manchester United, right? So this week has been shite, Jamie, right? So the two teams that I love and support and follow have been god awful. They've actually been known as the embarrassment of football back to back days, right? So he had come out with the documentary. What was it called? Was it called 99? And it was about when Celtic won the treble. It was all inside those 10 days. Amazing footage. Sir Alex Ferguson was in it. It focused on all of the players. So they had done the launch up in Manchester, the premiere. And Andy Goldstein, who works at Drive here at talkSPORT, weirdly has this friendship with David Beckham's mum. I think they have the same
That's
hairdresser or
right, aye.
something.
I've seen that.
Random. So they couldn't get the show up in Manchester that day. So they said, any chance you'll go up, and hopefully we're getting David Beckham, and hopefully we'll get him live. He's arriving at 6 p.m. on this red carpet, and he'll do us if we're there at that time. But Andy and Darren couldn't be there. So any chance you'll do it? And I was like, yeah, okay. So there was a chance that it could happen, but there was a chance that, because it's Bex, and because he probably has a huge team around him, that it might not. Anyway, one of the directors, or one of the guy who produced the film, came up and he was like, I listened to you on Early Breakfast and talkSPORT. And he said, who are you hoping to get today? And I said, well, Andy Goldstein and this guy turned out to be friends. And he was like, we'll make sure we get you David. And then around about 6 o'clock, the cameras are flashing, everyone's shouting, and he just comes straight over to us. And then at that point, Andy went, right, Shebahn, over to you. I think you've got David Beckham now. And I remember the kind of the woman behind him. She was almost kind of giving you the signal in the last question, but we managed to get a good chat with him, a good I think 6 or 7 minutes on drive, which was good going, and he was lovely. He was really really nice, and actually in that moment, because I'm not like I don't fangirl really over anyone. I just don't. And Gary Neville walked up to say hi to David, and I love Gary Neville. Judge me for that all you want. But Neville then walked
All
up
right.
and I was like, "Oh my god, I really wanted to speak to Gary Neville, but we were live with David Beckham on talkSPORT. I couldn't mess that one up." And everyone was like, "What was Bex like? What was Bex like?" And I was like, I was more looking to chat to G Nev at that moment, but he was so cool, really nice. And the next question, yes, he smells as nice as he looks. He smelled delightful.
He is, man. I don't think I could ever turn, right? But I think if I did, it would be for. I think he'd be up there.
You know,
But
he touched this hand, so I've not
well,
washed
you know, watch this answer. No,
it off. Good on
fair
you.
play to
Yeah, he
you.
was really cool, nice guy.
Good. Have you ever been starstruck by anybody? No, apart from Gary Neville.
Yeah, Gary Neville was a funny one. I think it's because we watch Stick to Football like religiously. Sit down and watch that show. I like him. I don't. I just think he's something about him.
Ah, he's alright.
He's cool. But that divides people anyway. But that for me in that moment, I was like, oh shit, there's Gary Neville. In terms of anyone else, not really, to be honest. Um, who's your man from Succession? Brian Cox.
Oh, aye.
On the day that Jeff Stelling started in Talksport, Brian Cox was in doing interviews down at Virgin, so we share the same
Mm-hmm.
studio floor as Virgin Radio. And Jeff came out of the studio and they'd had like a welcome party for him. And as Jeff came out of the studio, Brian Cox walked into the office, and I think Brian Cox thought, "Is this like a weird party for me?" And it was actually a party for Jeff. I remember thinking, "Oh my god, there's Brian Cox!" And at that point, I was like big into Succession. I thought that was an amazing show. In terms of footballers and stuff, not really. Like
Nah.
they're here a lot. You speak to a lot of them. Um, no, I tend not to. Have you? Would you get starstruck?
I tell you, I see. Last night when I was talking to Murdo McLeod last night, and
Mm.
I was actually like, I was done an introduction that, and I was actually getting quite emotional because my dad's passed away a few years ago now, and he was like, he got me into Celtic big time. You know what I mean? And just when I was reading out the intro, I was just thinking of my dad. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, I'm actually going to start greeting here. But
No. Yeah.
thankfully, I held it together a wee bit. But I was just thinking of him because he, even like yourself and everybody else I spoke to, my dad would be absolutely buzzing with us. You know what I mean? Just,
Oh, I'm
but
sorry
it's
to
one
hear
of the things
loss.
that happened. Ah, it's all right. So it's one of the things. But let's talk a wee bit about your podcast with your sister.
Mm.
You know, she's a professional footballer as well. So you know, how did that come about? Because I really love watching it because it's really authentic, Shebahn. Because I know you look like each other, you're twin sisters, right? But if you didn't look like anything each other, you can
I'm
tell
Bella.
you're sisters. You know what I mean? Because just there's that wee bite with each other, and then obviously he's got on really well and that, and it's just brilliant to watch.
Yeah, she's what I love about Rush is that she refuses to be media trained, kind of thing. She's an experienced player. I definitely think the lack of being media trained's probably affected her in her career. Maybe clubs don't trust her, managers, can't work with her because she's so vocal and she says what she thinks. And I think she's at this point now where she's like, well, you know, she's got 92 caps for the Republic of Ireland and she'd love to get to 100. And she's at this point now where injuries are an issue. She's 35. Players want young players who are going to give them years and not give them an injury problem and maybe won't bring them podcast problems either. And she's a bit like, why should I not do what could be the next career for me, if I can balance it? Some people don't like an opinion. Some people don't want current footballers to be talking about other footballers. But for me, I just think honestly, her football brain, Jamie, is unbelievable. The way she talks about football, she's not even scratched the surface of her intelligence of football, and be that man, woman, anyone, the person. When Rusha talks about football, I think you could listen to her all day. And we don't really go into those details. There's so much focus on women's football, other stories around women's football that we focus on. But she's a good laugh. She's experienced, she's connected, she knows a lot of people. And if you know her, you love her. And if you don't know her, you think you know her from what you've heard or what you've seen or what you see on the internet, or you might think she's trouble kind of thing because she has a big opinion. But that's what works. You know, people who are truly honest with themselves. Rusha will go to the grave having never, ever told a lie. She's almost too honest, you know, and that's the kind of person I want to work with. And she's so funny. Like for me, she cracks me up. Honestly, like we have a giggle. We did a podcast last night, our first one back together in a while, and she's just a laugh. And we've got a live show coming up soon in North London on the stage, and that's where people come to watch the podcast live, stories you've not really heard before and whatever. And if it goes well, we want to try and do one in Glasgow because the amount of people who I tend to forget about in Glasgow who listen to our podcast when you see like the analytics and stuff, are people who message like, you're going to come to Glasgow. I'd love to do that. And you know, big Celtic fan. She used to play for Celtic. She played for Glasgow City for years. So actually, you realise the amount of people who have followed women's football for quite some time there, who now are looking at Rusha all these years later still playing, you know, and you know, to have that many caps for Ireland, you can't knock her at the job that she does on the pitch. And therefore I say don't knock her at the job she's doing off the pitch, because I think it's the start of something special for her in her career part two.
That's it, and that's why the reasons the podcast has gone so well, because she is so honest and she's good at her job and same as yourself and that. And aye, if you do come to Glasgow, I'll be keeping an eye on that one day, Pavilion or something.
Let you know. I'll let you know. I'll get you a
Aye, aye, aye,
ticket.
definitely, man, Pavilion.
Yes, I know. I used to be the Pavilion pantomime. God, those were the days as
Did
well.
you?
Yeah, Pavilion pantomime. I was Dorothy and the Wizard I Never Was, and then I was in Pinocchio as well. Before I came here, before I came to London, and I was thinking, oh, if we could try and get a gig somewhere, it'd be good to do the Pavilion because that's a lovely theatre.
Aye, I was at a football podcast there last year. It was,
Nice.
Grado.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Grado, the wee guy Forever City. I went to see them, Pint and Two Shots was called. That was a good night, actually. It was a good night.
Yeah.
Another good football podcast.
Good, good. I mean, yeah,
Um,
they're everywhere now. Like,
I know, I
and then
know.
people are getting what they want from them. You know.
Exactly. People want to hear people's stories and that. And
Yeah.
aye, the last thing I want to talk to you about, Shebahn, is obviously you're a busy woman, as we spoke about at the start of the show. You know, you're up mega early. You must be up. What time do you get up in the morning, actually? You're doing talk
Have,
sport.
have to, have
Half
to. I'm
two. Oh my god.
Monday to Thursday. However, very soon my shifts are changing. I'm moving to Friday, Saturday, Sunday
All
morning
right.
soon. So I can have a little bit more of a long lie in the week, which is nice because you know I can give me that bit more of the balance with the kids and stuff like that. So I'm excited for the new show to start.
But who you got to be on when a Saturday and Sunday then?
Tony Cascarino.
All right.
So
All
I'll be
right.
doing the weekend breakfast show. Natalie Sawyer's going to do live sport. I'm going to be doing the weekend breakfast show.
All
And
right.
then I'll be staying in on a Friday with Alan to do the early breakfast show and chat with Alan and Gabby and stuff on a Friday. So
Ah, man.
your all Scottish Thursdays will be out the window, I'm
That's what I
afraid.
say. I'm disappointed at that, man. I'm gutted at
Yeah.
that, but I'll be listening on Saturday and Sunday anyway. But
Thank you. Thank you.
aye, so obviously you've got a young family and that as well, and you've got all these things. Well, how do you juggle all this? I mean, you're up at half two in the morning. You've got your kids all day and at night. I mean, it must be really hectic.
I've got really good support, honestly. Like, I'm up that early, but I'm home early and I get sleep when the kids are at school. At the moment, it's summer holidays still here, so I have my in-laws having them today. I put them into clubs and stuff like that. My husband is like pure Manny. Like he does everything in the morning. I'm going in the morning, and then in the afternoon, once I've slept, then I'll take over in the afternoon from the kids. And yeah, my sister, she's here. She's living with me just now. She's helpful with the kids. I have such a good support. I don't know how people do it alone. The kids are amazing. Age 6 is the best age, and they're starting to get into their sports and stuff like that. They were watching the penalty shootout with me the other night, Celtic against Kyra, and they were getting right into it. And their wee deflated faces at the end when they saw that I was gutted, and they were trying to like cheer you up, like it's okay, mum, it's okay, it's good to lose and learn. And I'm like, shit, they must listen to my nonsense all the time, and now they're regurgitating it to me. So yeah, no, I'm lucky, and work are good. I'm freelance, so you can knock back. I don't like to knock back anything. I want to do everything. And I've got a holiday at the weekend for a week before the kids go back to school. So, yeah, we make it work. It's long days and hard hours, but I would do it every day until I'm 70 because I love it that much. So, oh, might need to take that back at some point, but it's amazing. So it's worth it, and even the kids like they'll talk about talkSPORT and stuff like that. So it's funny, like they get it now, so it's all worth it, and it's a juggle, but it's good. I'm happy with it.
It's brilliant, man. talkSPORT is just amazing. Listening to it all day, every day, and as you say, you must just walk in there and go, "Wow!" This is
Oh,
getting
that's
to
it.
talk about football. And obviously, you're working hard behind the scenes in it as well, but you're sitting talking about football all day. You know what I mean? It's an absolute dream come true. But
I know. I know. Who's your favourite talkSPORT presenter? You can't say me though, Jamie. Can't say
I
me.
can't say you.
Can't say me.
I love Alan. I love Ali. I love Jim White and Simon
Yeah,
Jordan. Love. I love Cundy and Aherne at night. You know what I mean? As much as they're no
they're so
big,
funny. I mean,
hilarious. Has anybody seen?
did you see this last night? Just show you this, but this made me laugh so much. Jason Cundy playing
I
the
know dressed like clowns.
playing the violin,
Mm.
dressed as a clown for Man United fans. I mean, that is talkSPORT. It's just pure housery, up for the crack. Everyone gets their opinion. Very funny.
I don't see, I seen a wee clip of that this morning, but why did they do that clown thing? Was that just because of Man United?
No, the
He's
clown
rocking it.
started because of Spurs, funnily enough.
Um,
Like, they lost to PSG. They were kind of made fun of then because they were winning that game. And then, the transfers and Eze kind of been hijacked by Arsenal in the last second. Like, that's when the clown outfit first came out, just to mug off Spurs fans. It's all a bit of fun. It's all in good jest, but like, you can't listen to it sometimes. Like, see, when they make fun of Celtic, I'm just like, God help us, you know.
Aye. Who's your favourite talk sport presenter apart from yourself?
Oh, apart from myself, I'm joking. Good question. I mean this. I love everyone. Like I really do. I love
Aye.
everyone. Gabby Agbonlahor really looks out for you. I get on well with Gabs. I'd say he's becoming a good mate. Um, Brazil, McCoist, everyone. No, I can't. Don't do this to me. Obviously, the breakfast lot because I'm with them. Um, More so, but everyone's really good. Even like H&J in the afternoon. Andy Jacobs and Paul Hawksby.
Yeah,
What great people. Great people. Everyone's good, everyone's happy. Everyone loves to be at talkSPORT, so it's a good atmosphere.
brilliant. Right, one last question, right, before I let you go, Shebahn. You've been amazing. Thanks very much.
No worries,
Um,
thanks.
I've just thought of this, right? Because I Scottish footballers, who's the best players? If you were to do a five-a-side team, the best players you played alongside. So I'm going to ask you, who's the best, your five-a-side team of Celtic players in your lifetime?
In my lifetime,
Your lifetime.
King of Kings, Henrik
Easy, innit?
Larsson. Yeah, has to be. Uh, for me, Captain Callum McGregor. I think he's just not perfect all the time on the pitch, off the pitch. I think he always is all heart for Celtic. Go more recent times as well. I love Jota. Loved that season with Jota. Maida, it's hard to look past him as well.
He'd be running constantly, so you need him.
Yeah.
Need a goal in there, but
We need a goalie, don't we? I love Joe Hart. I loved his time at Celtic. I love the way the fans took to him as well.
mhm,
Go back to when I was young and Arthur Boric, the holy goalie, that kind of stuff. I was proper young then.
mhm.
Um, they are some of the players who I would say stand out kind of thing. Scott Brown as well, he's
You've got
somebody.
6 players in your team now. You can't have that. You're cheating. That's you. You've done 6.
In terms of captains though, like Scott Brown and Callum McGregor they're the captains you want for your club, in my opinion.
Aye, I agree.
Who would you go for?
Uh, I've thought about this. I would go for obviously Henrik. Um, I would go for Van Dijk at the back.
Of course, yeah.
I'd go for me the best goalkeeper I've seen at Celtic in my lifetime is Fraser Foster.
Yeah.
And the midfielders Stan Petrov, just amazing man, and Paul Lambert.
Yeah.
Because I'm a wee couple of years old on you, Shebahn, so I remember Paul Lambert and Craig Burley and all the guys. So
Yeah. I remember it well. I do remember it well. And I worked with them fairly recently. And when you see like how they're idolised as well. You know, like that's the thing. Even though now it's difficult, the time that Celtic's going through from this result, and we'll see what happens at the weekend. And I was saying this to Jim White yesterday in the office. You can't take away from the fan bases that these two clubs in Scotland have, but just speaking from a Celtic point of view, you will never not love them, kind of thing. You will never not just absolutely adore that football club, kind of thing. Everywhere you go in the world, you'll find yourself a Celtic bar, or you'll find yourself a Celtic fan, and people who speak so highly of the club and the team. So muscle through the hard times, and
Sure.
we'll win the league again. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
no. But you're right, back because when I was talking to Murdo last night and we were talking about, the day that we stopped to 10 in 1999,
Mm,
1998, sorry, I was at that game with my dad and we
yeah.
ended up on the park
Mm,
and, we were just talking about that. I was getting quite emotional and I was just thinking of Celtic all the time, you know what I mean? And then, like I say, even just just now, Shebahn, my dad was a massive talkSPORT fan as well. So, aye, it's very, very surreal. But, Shebahn, I'm not going to take up any more of your time.
no problem.
Thank you so, so, so much for coming on. It really has been a dream come true. You've been so nice, so kind, so knowledgeable. And I really wish you nothing but success for the future. Go and smash it. Never mind all the anti woman, football people. Stop replying to the dafties on X and all that and
Good.
just keep smashing it, pal. All right.
Thank you, Jamie, for having me on your podcast. Keep doing you. Keep hustling. Keep having these conversations, and thank you for being kind. I appreciate it. I really do. So, thanks for having me on your show.
No problem at all, Shebahn. Thanks very much, pal.
Hail, hail. See you soon.
Hail, hail. Bye bye.